And welcome back to the hottest marriage show in the world. I am John D. Lewis, aka Too Much Me, and this is my wife.
Dude,
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I am doing better than I was earlier, and yes, and earlier I was really great.
Oh,
Isn't that awesome where you can like feel better than you were, and you were in a place of like happiness, and it's like it just gets better.
yeah.
It's dope. Yeah. You got anything planned for this weekend that I don't know about?
This weekend, no. This is a chill weekend, I think. I have plans for pizza tonight and nothing else for the weekend. Maybe some movies, something in the house because it's cold.
I wanted to say something that somebody we've been watching. Well, I've been watching, but you sat down and watched him talk, and I want to see what you think, what it says to you. The person name is Jordan Peterson. He said, we need to not be a slave and master ourselves. He says we need to not be a slave and master ourselves. I believe he meant that we are slaves, and what we do in order to take control, we have to become disciplined so that we can become the master. So I was wondering, what do you mean? Like, what do you think he meant? And the reason why I said that to you, because I kind of wanted to like show you the way that I was looking at it, just so that I guess this could make sense. I didn't want to get it too far because I know sometimes I come up with some things that kind of stretch the imagination, and I don't want to lose the focus with our audience. But he says we need to be a slave and need not to be a slave and master ourselves. What do you think that means? And how does that apply with you if you can feel what he's talking about?
Okay, so if I were to try to interpret it myself, I would think that I guess my thought on it would be when we're growing up, we get a lot of messaging about who we are, what we should think. It's like everybody around us determines how we see the world, how we see ourselves, and we become subjected to everyone. Everyone else is our master of our perception. And I guess if you were able to take the time to master yourself in the sense of exploring yourself, knowing what you see the world as independent from everyone else, then that's that mastery. And it kind of pours out into how you live your life after that. Like, we're living our life and seeing the world out of the eyes or the lens that other people want us to see. That kind of can determine where we feel the ceiling is for what we can become. Can we ever leave this environment? Can we ever, elevate beyond where we are? Or is there a certain place that's set for us, or people like somebody like you would never be able to do this or do that, or somebody like you wouldn't be interested in things like this? Like the idea that black people don't be listening to no rock music. Yes, we do. I love Janie's Got a Gun up in this mug. I know that's old school, but like, I guess stepping outside of the parameters that somebody tells you you're in. As a slave, you're put in a place and you're not allowed to step outside of it. And I think that in this sense is when you're able to step outside of the parameters that someone has set for you and really explore who you are, master yourself, and know yourself inside and out, the ceiling, either it gets higher or it breaks, and you can propel beyond it, or so that's how I see it, I think.
So, being that you said it that way, how 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 can we get people? Okay. So I know, like, in our past conversations, we talk about the things that people really may not have time for. But do you think that if you mastered yourself, you would be more successful in life? Do you think people, not you per se, but like people in general, if they took time to master themselves, that they would probably do better?
I think if I were measuring, I think if I was measuring success by happiness, yeah, because you may not be like rolling in the dough, or you may, but I think you would be far happier if you were living according to how what made you happy and what was most fulfilling to you.
All right, so I'm thinking about, like, when you said that we're kind of like living the life of the perspective of the people around us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's
Some are, yeah.
what me,
Mm-hmm.
like the things that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I was doing those things because in my head, I heard that these would be great for a family.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying that I didn't want to do it, but I wouldn't have never known if I didn't hear like that was a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So looking now, with you, do you look at happiness as a goal, like where mastering yourself would like you would want to just be happy? Like I told you right when we started, like I was happier than I was earlier, and I was really happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the more I master myself, and that's a new goal for me. Before, I didn't really care. Like, I was just, moving through the world, and I didn't feel like I was unhappy. I didn't feel like I was unsafe or at a disadvantage, so I was okay with that. Now, over this last year, I've really been on the whole thing of, Kanika, do the things that make you happy, and then figuring out what are those things, because
what makes you happy?
I think just feeling free. I like to not really plan things out, but really be able to just fly by the seat of your pants? Like, if I feel like going to the river and just watching ducks or people float by in a canoe, then that's cool. If I want to go, like, over Christmas, I did Black Detroit with my best friend, and that was just like going to every restaurant, every store, whatever we did, it had to be a Black owned whatever, and I loved it. Like the art shows and I loved all of it. It's like being able to just say, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I like that. I like to be able to sit and watch movies or comedies, mostly comedies, if I want.
What prevented you from doing that before?
I think it was just, I don't know. Part of it just kind of felt like I had fallen into a rut while we were here. I had this newfound belief that was what I was going to be doing, and then the pandemic hit me, and after that, it was like sweatpants and high ponytail buns ever since then, and I wasn't going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? When we were in Abu Dhabi, much of the time we were there, I didn't really have any friends of my own because I was, at home mom. I only met people through you. But that last year we were there, I had 2 really close friends, and like I started going out and having a great time, and it really felt great. I think that was what made me, when I came back, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that again. And then it was like, bam, pandemic. And in Atlanta, I was working like crazy. And when I wasn't working, then I was taking care of the kids because you were working. So it was never really, I didn't feel like there was really time for me. Now I feel like I need to make sure I take the time. I'm going to make the time for myself.
Do you remember when when we first moved in, I was like, you need to find something to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so I guess that's what I wanted you to have.
Well,
I just didn't know how to say it.
What I didn't realize was that before you and I moved in together, I did have that. Like, I had my friends in grad school and I had my friends from home. I used to spend all my time with them. But when we moved in together, you and I had not been in the same space for like 4 years. Did you move to Florida in 02?
Mm-hmm.
It was like 4 years. And so when we got together, I was like, oh, I'm spending all my time with him. And you was like, no. But but let me roll back just a minute and ask you. So when you read that quote from that guy, what was your perception of it?
Yeah, I feel like that it's kind of related to a previous episode where being exposed to things, like your parents try to protect you from things, right? And if they protect you from it, in my mind, they tell you why you shouldn't do it. But if they don't protect you from it, you still ended up in it. Mm-hmm. So as you get older, you try to figure out what is for you, but you don't look at it that way. You just think it's life. You don't think of like, if I take this out, my life will improve. It's like, this is what I have. This is what I've been given in my life. So it's like, you have to figure out what are really the distractions. Like when I told you I was introduced to alcohol, sex, and gambling, mm-hmm. like at a very young age. Like,
so that's the slave you.
It was because I thought that was my life. I thought I had to figure out how to balance it in order to have a family. I just thought that was a part of my life. Mm-hmm. Like I never thought like I didn't have to have it. You know what I'm saying? So when I look back and I'm like, there are people that think like I do. There's like, that you don't have to have that life, but you choose to. So when I removed it, I felt like I had gotten closer to who I was because I was a mirror of my environment. Mm. And when you think that that's what your environment is supposed to be doing, you're like, well, I'm not losing money. I'm not endangering my family through these things. And like, I'm balancing pretty well. But you don't realize if you remove those things, other things to get way better. Mm. And so when I heard that quote, it was like, what can I do to be this cold husband and this cold father? Because to me, remember yesterday when you was like, he was about to take Day to the orthodontist, and I was like, I'm in here cooking breakfast because I was like, what can I do to make her have a better day? Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, if I can jumpstart you to having a better day, it's like you're more likely to see the positive things, like. So if I'm like, dang, somebody was thinking about my happiness. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, that's where I am, to the point where I feel like I can control as much of my happiness as I think. Mm-hmm. Why can't I share it with other people? So to me, I feel like the better I get at this, the more you're going to wake up like, what the hell am I going to do today that's going to make me happier? You know what I'm saying? And like because you say you like to be happy. And yeah. I'm like, if the more things I hear, I'm going to try to do, because I feel like when you're happier, you're going to be the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. If you got things that's bothering you, you can't be the best wife because you're not even happy with what's going on. Okay. So if I can help you get to that happiness point where you're like, oh, okay. So then you purposefully look for things that make you happy, and then it's less things that's going to bother you. And then when they do bother you, you be like, well, this is the price of being this happy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I can be happy every day and something happens, I'm like, well, that's unfortunate.
You gotta take some bumps and bruises.
You have to, and I think that's what it makes you stronger as a person. But people around you benefit from it because you're less likely to bother them because you're considerate about who's around you. Mm. Transitioning into this. What? No, that was great.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that transitioning to what I really want to talk about is, what do you think is or are like the important parts of a relationship, a functional relationship? Like, mm-hmm. and I want you to look at it in two different ways. I want you to look at it with what you thought growing up to a young adult, and then reflecting when you were a child to this point where you like, okay, I think that the relationship that I thought as a kid, it wasn't this, it needed this as an adult. You know, this is what I think I was missing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I would like to know, because I feel like the better we communicate, the more I can work on those things where I feel like, you know how you do like a job performance and like, are you really being the best you can? And then your wife says, well, you know, this would make me happy. And I'm like, well, I don't do any of that. Like, so that I can incorporate that into the relationship aspect.
Growing up, I guess I didn't think, when I thought about marriage, I was just thinking about love. And as an adult, I feel like love is still important, but the honesty, respect, friendship part, to me, has more weight, because the love will come with all of those things in place. Like, you can love someone and not really be their friend. I've learned that. Like, you can love someone and they not be the person that you most confide in. You can love someone and they not be the first person that comforts you in a situation. You could love someone and like share a bed with them and be in the house with them, and that not necessarily, there not be the strongest friendship possible. You can. But there's not a friend I have that I don't love. Like, you can have love and not necessarily have a great friendship. But if you have a great friendship, it's love in it. So, you know, it's like the byproduct. And I feel like growing up, it was like, you're going to find someone who really loves you and you're going to really love them. And then this, that, and this will happen. And really what you learn when you're in a marriage is that, I remember I used to, and I had a friend who used to say it. She was like, I hate when people say they married their best friend. and it's not, she said, it's not because it's not their best friend. It's just that there are so many people that they're your best friend based on who y'all been, like, once you really get down to it, like my best friend, we have been friends for the last 30 years now. She and I, our friendship and the depths and the understanding she has of me, like the very inner workings of my mind, she has it down pat. And out of those 30 years, like when you and I got married, you didn't know me like she did. So I could say you were my friend, but I couldn't say you were that best friend. And I think when my friend was talking to me, she was just like, you don't even, like, best friends go through so many growing pains. Like, they see you having the hardest time with they grow up with you and like you're a kid and your parents are divorcing, or, you know, you struggled with bullying or whatever. Like, that part that really shaped who you are, they saw that part. And so when you get married, well, and then it really depends on how long you all have known each other and what you've gone through. But there's a certain level of experience watching you, how you've, you know, kind of coped with challenges in your life, and them having stood beside you. There's something there more intimate that they see as your best friend than who you're marrying, who may not have known you as long. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There are things that, like, you and I, when we met, my dad had like his second or third stroke. You know, my grandmother had just passed, and you saw those things, but it was a different experience.
Oh, you know, what I'm saying? I was literally like a fly on the wall.
Yeah, and when your father passed, like,
you were more significant. You had to move. Like,
yeah,
you and I had gotten a lot closer.
But there were, even to this day, there are things we talk about and things that you unlock in your memory that you never thought about before. And I'm like, I didn't know that. And that impacts how I see you. And so it's, when people say I'm marrying my best friend, they very well could be. But there are a lot of times where you don't even know the depths of what your friendship will really be and what it really looks like until you're married and you're going through stuff together. You know what I'm saying? So now when I look at you and I'm like, the friendship we have now, I mean, far beyond what I even imagined we would be, but also even understanding who we were before. I thought we were friends before.
Oh, yeah.
And now I'm like, yeah, like growth. You know what I'm saying?
Look, I'm just listening. I didn't even look at it that way until you said it. And I was like, wow. Like that. So now I kind of believe when people like say, I married my best friend. You don't know.
I mean,
it
but
just sounds good. It's cliche, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, you could. Like,
I'm
not going to take that away from anybody who really honestly feels that way.
I know, but I'm saying like when I hear that, and I don't want to knock it because, but when you start putting the facts of a person's relationship, y'all had to know each other for a long time then, because did you go through the toughest times? Like you said, like when you have your best friend, she sees you grow and you see her grow. So y'all go through the tough times together, but you haven't gone through any tough times unless you've been with your person for a significant amount and say, you know what, there's nothing that we haven't seen.
Yeah. And I guess there might be some who will argue like you don't need to go through the deepest struggles to know that's your best friend. Maybe not.
Maybe. Oh yeah.
But
I don't want to say that. I understand.
For me,
for sure,
when I reflect over who I would say was my best friend and where you and I were, I'm like, I wouldn't have, even when we got married, I wouldn't say I'm marrying my best friend. Like, I'm marrying someone I'm deeply in love with. That's how I felt. So when I entered into the marriage, I entered in with the mind frame of what I grew up with. When you find someone that you love and they love you, you'll get married and but nobody ever said, when you find someone who is your very best friend and you love them and they love you, that never came up. So now I know that, like I said, if you're really my one of my close friends, I love you. If I love you, it don't necessarily mean that you're one of my like, you might get in because you my family though. Like,
well, that's,
so,
I think that's everybody.
Yeah. So it's like the friendship includes the love. The love doesn't necessarily include the friendship that I value most now, knowing being in a marriage. Like, I didn't know that I was supposed to value that as much. So it was weird because when I was growing up, my mom and dad, they weren't friends. They were married. And then my dad had his friends and my mom had her friends. And when I saw my mom interact with her friends, who were also her cousins, it was like love, strength, support. It was like she got all of that from there. And so in my head, that's what I was going for. And as I grew up in this marriage and watching other marriages, there were some key marriages that I saw over time that I was like, I want that. Like, they were like inside joke, giggling harder than when you giggling with your friend type of stuff. And I was like, now that is it right there.
But I don't think that was you though. That was me dictating what it should look like.
Yeah, but regardless of the fact, at that time, I had learned that what our marriage was cool.
Oh, yeah.
But
it could have been better.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was going to look like that, though. So when I saw that, I was like, hey, why can't I have that?
And I remember when we got to Abu Dhabi, you said, they look like they have fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and then you started naming people. And that was where it was a time where I'm reflecting, because in my head, I'm like, she can't really, like, she got to be happy with what I'm giving out. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, I'm doing things that I've never thought about doing. And then when you said that, I was like, well, we ain't happy. And then I was like, but even then I can say that I didn't put as much time into the reflection as I do now. And I'm like, our marriage looked like it was different, but it was like, it was what we wanted to look like, because I couldn't give you I couldn't give you certain parts because I didn't even know how. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so then that would bring me back to asking you the same question. What did you think marriage was? What was your question?
Well, the way where our life is what I thought marriage was.
Currently?
In Atlanta.
Oh, in Atlanta.
Yeah, I thought that was what marriage was going to look like.
We had kids, a mortgage, and we shared bills.
Yeah, and we did things.
Oh yeah.
Look, we went to what, Bahamas.
I'm with you.
Look, so I was like,
yeah.
I said, as long as we do these things, like this is way better than what I'd seen.
Gotcha.
So in my head, I was like, you know, our kids are going to private school at the time. We're working. I had a business at different parts or whatnot. So I felt like I was trying to look like what a successful family would look like.
So what about now, grown up John?
So I realized that, like I think I said earlier, like I was just mocking the people around me. So when you're mocking the people around you and you don't have the right people to mock, you know, like, so now I've had, you know, a lot of time to reflect and looked at that. Maybe your version was better than the way that I looked at, but we didn't even communicate like we do now. You know what I'm saying? Like, we was like two systems just running into each other, and whatever we decided that was going to be the new road. But now I feel like you and I conversing on like, what does this look like to you? How can we make this work for everybody? So I think that the communication is very important if you want a relationship to continuously grow. Like if you're not, and I think that we'll always improve now because we see what it's done. And I think if I could do it all over again, I would have just asked more questions. Oh, but you know, to continue what you were talking about, I mean, like, just to answer your question, I can tell you the reason why I was like that, you know, like where, you know, you were on eggshells, depending on the topic I'm going to talk about. I didn't want you to feel like that at all. You know what I'm saying? But I was thinking our communication got better because I realized that I was a problem and I had to improve, because I was like, I don't know why we always keep getting in these situations, and it was me. You know what I'm saying? But I made you. That's why I told you you became an a-hole.
I did.
You know, and I was.
But did I, or did I just?
You mocked the people around you. Like you started to look like me, reflect me, and I was like, I don't like the person you're becoming.
And that was like to me, that's a balance. It was a balance to act, because you might have seen it as being an a-hole, but I was seeing it as more so speaking my mind now.
Oh, no. I get it. I'm just saying, I didn't know that I was that.
I got you.
You know, where I could change your behavior, because I'm like, oh no, we can't do this. This is not the person.
It's like, I can't have her acting like I do.
Remember I told you, I was like, I would have never married this person.
He sure did. Hey, y'all. He said, if I'd have known you was going to be Lisa, I would have never married you. I said, the nerve and the gall.
Because I married you because you were a specific person, but I didn't realize I was changing your behavior because mine was so bad.
Hey, if you like it, if you like to dish it out, dadgummit, it took me a long time to dish it back out to you, but you definitely didn't like that. Y'all, that might have been, I looked at him like, real?
But could you see how innocent it was though? Like I was always me.
Yeah, it's like, hold on.
It wasn't no surprise.
And me too at ease up in this mug. How nerve of you to be. I was like, first of all, I was like, this dude, I really just stopped. I used to tell John things in 30 words that could be said in 4. But I said them in 30 words because I wanted to make sure that I explained it well enough where he didn't have a reason to fly off the handle ready to argue about how, you know, and I'm not trying to argue. So I would be like, okay, how can I say this in a way that he will best take it. And so it would require me to very carefully sculpt my words sometimes, depending on the conversation. And so eventually I got to the point where I was like, he a big boy now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say how I feel. And I'm going to stop taking all the fluff out because he's a big boy. And not only that, he and I have been having so many conversations where it seemed like he was getting there. Like, it didn't require all of that. Like, he understood that I didn't have any ill intent toward him. And so I started saying stuff, however it wanted to come out of my mouth. And this man put me to a screeching halt and said, hey, if I'd have known that this was who you were, I would have never married you. I said, the gall.
She did. I know she did. But you know, like, so to be completely honest, like, I just felt like
it's like I was pleading our case to them. No,
I need you to understand. You the one changing up stuff. I was still being me.
Oh, I was, because I was like, you know what? Take off the training wheels, Kanika. Take them off.
Well, I will say this though. That was looking back. That was so necessary because it allowed me to reflect. Like, if I am changing this woman's behavior and she's like this great person, like, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? So
he created a monster.
No, you weren't a monster at all. You were just inconsiderate at times. But,
oh my God.
Look, check this out. Like, I remember coming home for dinner and it was no dinner. He was like, oh, I thought you was going to just get something out. I was like, why was I supposed to get something else? Like, I don't normally do that. Like, I just got the kids some Subway or something. I'm like, so I don't get anything?
Y'all, I was flipping the script just a little bit. I was like, oh, he out, handle your own business.
But look, I got home at 7:30. It wasn't like it was late. It was like 7:30. And I'm like, so there's no dinner? She was like, oh, I'm like,
eating somewhere else.
But I didn't know that this was going on. That was my whole point. And I don't know. Like I said, I didn't feel good at all when these things were going on, but
I was in the process of mastering myself, and so
it was necessary.
It got a little messy along the way.
Yeah. Well, no. Again, like, she did look. If it was messy, it was about the cleanest mess you would want to see. And again, like, I guess you could tell the type of person I was, though. It wasn't like I was like going crazy.
Yeah.
Like, well, like, what is your problem? Like we need to have like a
like, hold on.
Like, do you notice this? Like, I don't think you realize what you're doing now. But I'm blessed the way that you have approached this whole thing. So the relationship aspect of it all, I think that we've grown so much. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to continuously growing to the point where you like, maybe you do know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's all he really wants.
I do.
He really wants people to tell him that
I went to go look for it.
Yeah, he wants everybody to tell him that he is on the track and they understand and he was right.
No, it wasn't not necessarily right. It was like, I want people to realize that I am really trying to find happiness, right? Mm-hmm. And if I find it, I want them like, dang, you know what? He said he was going to do it, and he said he was going to show people. So I feel like if I continuously work toward this goal, like, my wife is going to look like, man, do you see them? They look like this, and like, they're not faking it. You know what I'm saying? Or if you talk to our kids and they're actually happy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know people say, people create their life on social media, and I'm like, I'm way happier, and I put less things out on social media now. I just kind of promote this, but I'm blessed to have you in my life, and I love you. For real.
I love you too.
Is there any shout outs you want to give before we get out of here?
I had one in mind, but I forgot. I think, what are we talking about? Master and slave and all that stuff. I think I already gave shout outs to all of my friends, but all of my friends helped me figure out, they helped me on my journey to mastering myself. They still are. So I love McKK, Tracy, FAY, wow, all of y'all.
For sure. I want to give a shout out to John David Lewis. Mm-hmm. He has a podcast on the YouTube channel called Growing Man.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
He has about 27, 28 episodes out there. They're only 2 minutes, and it's just talking about his journey. It originally was Chasing Greatness, but recently he saw a podcast with Big Sean. I think he was on Jay Shetty's podcast, and he was just talking about when you're chasing something, you're in an act of desperation, and you're willing to do whatever to get it. And he was like, change your words up. And I was like, aspire to be. And I was like, since I was chasing greatness, I can't aspire to be greatness. I'm going to aspire to be the greatest. And when I say the greatest, it's going to be whatever it looks like. So whatever I become, know that I'm challenging everybody who fits in the category, because I am going to become. I just went from third person to all about me.
Yeah, it's like,
but at least you know what I'm talking about. I really want my wife to be like, yes, 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 yes.
That's my man, and I'ma stick beside him.
No, not this. Like, I ain't doing nothing wrong part of sticking.
And I'ma stick beside him.
And I want my kids to grow up and be like, my father enjoyed trying to raise the bar and living life. And if I can continue to do that, and I think it'll be more fun if you look at life. So shout out to me for doing this podcast. And the reason, like I said, I just want to be an inspiration to anybody that wants to do better. And I just think life,
I believe the children
the fruits are a lot better when you work hard for them. But make today better than yesterday. Don't worry about anything you can't control. Be great on purpose. Boom.